the heck is going on? What a Wednesday it has been over the last 7-8 hours. Caitlin Clark dropping a new colorway, showing us a new colorway. This is the color of your shoe that you should have shown us the first time.
Three major stories surfaced within just 8 hours, and together they paint a clear picture of where the Indiana Fever stand right now. First came a highly anticipated shoe reveal that generated a lot of excitement. Then came a quiet update confirming that Caitlin Clark is now on a managed rotation schedule. Finally, the Fever responded to a letter from Congress, even though, as we will get into, nobody had actually asked the team for a response. Let's break down each story because the timing of these developments does not look like a coincidence at all.
At Caitlin Clark's new yellow colorway of the Nike Caitlin 1, these are 10 zillion times better than the blue and whites. They pop more, they look more unique, they look crispier, much better.
The spotlight first turned to the new yellow colorway of the Nike Caitlin 1, which is reportedly set to launch during the 2026 holiday season with a price tag of $140. That price is noticeably lower than many signature Jordan models, making the shoe far more accessible to fans. The Fever also shared footage of Caitlin Clark wearing the sneakers before their game against Los Angeles. Whether that timing was intentional or not is open to interpretation. But while the shoe launch was grabbing attention, a much bigger story was quietly developing in the background. That contrast is exactly what makes this whole situation so interesting.
Letting us all know, moving on. Aaliyah Boston will be out tonight against the Sparks, and Caitlin Clark will be available, and they'll flip-flop tomorrow for the game against Phoenix, where Boston will be available and Clark will be out. This is load management. This is what they fired Scott Agnes for. In case you guys aren't aware, this is what they fired.
Take a closer look at that report. Aaliyah Boston is scheduled to sit out the game against the Sparks while Caitlin Clark plays. Then in the following game against Phoenix, the roles switch. Boston returns and Clark sits. Many observers say this looks like a planned rotation rather than a response to a specific injury, similar to the load management approach that has been debated in the NBA for years. According to the report, information about player availability has become a major topic surrounding the Fever. The host also claims that similar reporting on availability was connected to the departure of Fever insider Scott Agnes earlier this season. Keep that detail in mind because it becomes important as the story develops. Next, let's look at how this rotation was casually confirmed during shoot-around.
Yesterday, how did she feel through shoot-around, and do you have an update on her status for tonight?
Yeah, she just did some of the shooting. She's going to be out tonight, again with the back-to-back. And Caitlin are back-to-back. Caitlin's going to be active tonight. AB's not, and then they'll flip-flop tomorrow night.
What key has been the...
They're load managing.
They'll switch tomorrow. For simple words delivered almost like a routine update. Stephanie White never directly called it load management. But when two of your biggest stars are alternating games during a back-to-back schedule without any new injury report, fans are naturally going to see it that way. For supporters buying tickets, this changes everything. The value of attending a game now depends on knowing which star players are actually going to be on the court. That uncertainty has become a major part of the conversation surrounding the Fever.
You don't want to buy tickets to a game not knowing if your favorite player is going to play or if the team is going to have her load manage or she's going to load manage. You don't want to do that as a fan. You don't want to do that. I've used this example numerous times. The Lakers were coming to Brooklyn to play the Nets. I was getting ready to hit purchase. This is like 5, 6, 7 years ago. This is a long time ago. I was getting ready to hit purchase on a ticket sale. I said, you know what? Let me just make sure that none of these guys are load managing. I open up the ESPN app. I come to find out LeBron's load managing, Anthony Davis load managing. It just left a bad taste in my...
That situation highlights the bigger issue facing the league. A fan can be ready to buy a ticket, pull out their credit card, and then change their mind after checking the injury report. The WNBA has spent years building excitement around a simple idea: buy a ticket and watch the biggest stars play. Caitlin Clark's road games have consistently drawn massive crowds because fans make plans specifically around seeing her in person. Now Phoenix fans who already bought tickets for the upcoming game may end up watching without Clark on the court, with very limited options after the purchase has been made. Many sports fans are used to seeing their favorite players available throughout the season. Baseball supporters expect regular appearances, and football fans expect their stars every single week. Critics argue that the NBA's load management approach shifted expectations around guaranteed star appearances, and now the WNBA is facing those same questions at a time when ticket sales depend heavily on star power. Fans have already started paying very close attention.
Load managing. I'm adamantly against load managing. Adamantly against it. Ridiculous. Either you can play or can't. This load management bullshit is soft, and I don't think it's the player's decision. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. This coach is incompetent. Yeah, I'm not. This organization landed back-to-back #1 picks and have done nothing but fail to build around them, failed to get them a coach who knows how to maximize them as a duo, and failed to keep them injury-free. Nothing but constant injuries for CC since Stephanie White became coach.
Those fan reactions reveal a much bigger frustration. One supporter criticized the organization for having back-to-back #1 draft picks, but failing to build a strong enough team around them. Another fan who described themselves as a major Caitlin Clark supporter admitted that even they were starting to grow tired of the situation. When the most dedicated fans begin expressing the same concerns as outside critics, it becomes more than just online noise. It signals growing disappointment within the fanbase itself. And this is where the story moves beyond basketball. Because while these debates were playing out, a letter from Washington reached the league office and added a whole new layer to the situation.
Where by now, I talked about this on the Quick Hits channel. Congress is asking answers from the WNBA. They're asking answers from Kathy Engelbert. They penned a letter to Kathy Engelbert, and Chloe Peterson, being the mouthpiece for the Fever, Chloe Peterson has put out a Fever statement regarding that letter. Quote, "Our organization nor Caitlin have had any interaction with anyone in this congressional group, and
a congressional group reportedly sent a letter seeking answers from the WNBA and Commissioner Kathy Engelbert regarding player safety concerns. According to the discussion, the letter was directed toward the league office rather than the Indiana Fever or Caitlin Clark specifically. However, shortly after the news broke, the Fever released a full team statement through beat reporter Chloe Peterson. The surprising part, according to the host, was that the statement appeared to respond to a letter that did not directly name the team at all. Now let's take a closer look at what the Fever's response actually said and why it has sparked even more discussion.
Now, our organization nor Caitlin have had any interaction with anyone in this congressional group. They didn't even mention you in this letter, Indiana Fever. They didn't even mention your team. They didn't even say Caitlin Clark, a player for the Indiana Fever. They didn't even mention your team, yet you felt the need to chime in. Secondly, they want answers from Kathy Engelbert. Why are they going to reach out to you? Why are they going to ask you anything?
Looking closely at the Fever statement, some people believe it raises more questions than it answers. The team said that neither the organization nor Caitlin Clark had any communication with the congressional group and that they were not aware of the letter before it became public. However, according to the discussion, that was never really the main issue being raised. The Fever also said they have consistently spoken out publicly about player safety. Critics, however, questioned how often the organization has actually addressed those concerns in a meaningful way. The host pointed to one major example, Stephanie White's post-game comments expressing frustration after a controversial incident. For some fans, that single public statement does not feel like nearly enough. They argue that over the past few seasons they have watched Clark face repeated physical challenges on the court, and they believe the conversation around player protection should have been much louder and much more consistent.
It probably would have been a good idea for the Fever organization and coaching staff to make more of an effort to publicly stand up for Caitlin. For 3 years, people have watched Caitlin get hammered on the court in the name of physicality. That's true. For 3 years, we've been watching it. No, we don't. We absolutely don't know where you stand.
The Fever stated that their players and fans understand where the organization stands. However, critics argue that a stance only matters when it is clearly communicated out in the open. If a position is never publicly shared, they believe it becomes very difficult for fans to recognize or trust it. The timing of the response has also drawn attention. Some observers say the team's quick reaction after the letter became public stands out when compared to what they describe as a lack of public statements before this moment ever arrived. For them, that contrast is the biggest part of the entire conversation.
You'd think the Fever were mentioned by name in that letter, the way they responded so quickly, right? What, guilty conscience, perhaps? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. We got a new Caitlin Clark colorway. We have Aaliyah Boston out today. We have Caitlin Clark out tomorrow. We have the Congress demanding questions, and we have the Indiana Fever within a few hours responding to that letter. Remember, Stephanie White, fake news on the hot seat, they responded. Caitlin Clark smear campaign for 2 weeks, quiet. Congress demanding questions, they responded. Caitlin Clark getting a fist in the throat, quiet.
Take a moment and really sit with that contrast, because it might explain everything happening around the Indiana Fever. For weeks, fans watched the organization stay quiet, while Caitlin Clark faced intense physical play and rumors swirled about Stephanie White's future. But the second a congressional letter about player safety landed on Commissioner Kathy Engelbert's desk, the Fever had a detailed statement ready within hours. That response time tells you something. Critics say organizations reveal their true priorities by how fast they move. And this week, the Fever moved fast when their reputation was on the line. Now throw the load management story into the mix, because these two things are directly connected. Resting Clark and Aaliyah Boston on alternating nights makes sense from a sports science standpoint. Back-to-back games carry real injury risks. But fans are asking the obvious question. If player safety is truly the priority, where was that same energy when Clark was being physically targeted on the court for years? Sitting a player out protects her body for one night. It does not fix the reason she needed protecting in the first place. And there is a serious business problem here too. The WNBA is growing faster than ever, and Clark is a massive reason why. Every time she sits out a game, fans who paid good money to see her walk away disappointed, and disappointed fans do not always come back. The Scott Agnes situation added another layer, with reports linking player availability information to his departure, which raised questions about whether the organization values transparency or simply controlling its own story. Even the shoe launch, the new yellow Nike Caitlin 1 dropping at $140 this holiday season, landed in the middle of all this, which, whether intentional or not, gave fans something shinier to look at while the real questions were piling up. The Fever said fans and players know where the organization stands. But after this week, many fans feel they do know exactly where they stand, just not in the way that statement meant. So here is the only question that actually matters. Is the Indiana Fever protecting Caitlin Clark or protecting itself from the controversy around her? Those are two completely different things. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this gave you a clearer picture of what is really going on, hit like and subscribe for more.